Homeless man proposes to rich girl. Have you ever looked at someone and decided their worth in just a few seconds? Without knowing their story, their past, or the battles they have fought, we often judge people based on what we see on the outside. It is a habit so common that we rarely question it. But sometimes, life puts us in a situation where those quick judgments are challenged, where everything we believe about people, status, and even love begins to change. This is a story about one such moment, a moment that started with judgment but ended with understanding. A moment between a rich girl and a homeless man that neither of them could have ever expected. The girl was known for her wealth, elegance, and power. She lived in a world where everything was polished and perfect. Her mornings began in a luxurious apartment overlooking the city, and her days were filled with meetings, social events, and moments that most people could only dream of. She wore expensive clothes, drove high-end cars, and dined in places where a single meal could feed a family for weeks. To the outside world, she was living the ideal life. People admired her, respected her, and often envied her success. But beneath all that perfection, there was a quiet truth that she rarely admitted, even to herself. She was lonely. Her life was filled with people, yet it lacked genuine connection. The friends she had often seemed more interested in her lifestyle than her personality. The relationships she had experienced never felt real. There was always a hidden intention, an unspoken expectation tied to her wealth. Over time, she began to feel that no one truly saw her for who she was. Instead, they saw what she had. This realization created a distance between her and the world, a barrier that even she didn't know how to break. One evening, after a long and tiring day, she stepped out of an expensive restaurant. The city lights reflected off the glass buildings, creating a beautiful yet distant atmosphere. The air was slightly cold, and the streets were filled with people moving quickly, each lost in their own world. She walked toward her car with her usual confidence, her heels echoing against the pavement. To anyone watching, she looked composed, successful, and untouchable. But inside she was exhausted, not from work, but from the constant pressure of maintaining a life that no longer felt fulfilling. As she approached the edge of the sidewalk, something caught her attention. Sitting on the ground, leaning against a wall, was a man who looked completely out of place in her world. His clothes were worn and dirty, his hair unkempt, and his face showed signs of struggle and hardship. He was clearly homeless. People walked past him without a second glance. Some avoided looking at him, while others pretended he didn't exist at all. It was a scene so common that most people had learned to ignore it. But for some reason, she didn't. Their eyes met for a brief moment, and something about that moment felt different. It wasn't pity or discomfort. It was something deeper, something she couldn't immediately understand. She paused, unsure of why she had stopped, and then asked him if he needed money. Her voice was calm but distant, as if she wanted to help without getting too involved. The man looked up at her and smiled. It was not a forced smile or a desperate one. It was calm, genuine, and surprisingly peaceful. He told her that he didn't need money. Instead, he simply said that she looked beautiful. His words were simple, yet they carried a sincerity that she wasn't used to. For a moment, she was taken aback. She had received countless compliments in her life, but this one felt different because it came from someone who had nothing to gain from it. Her reaction, however, was defensive. She told him to stay within his limits, her tone slightly cold. In her world, there were boundaries, and this situation felt like it was crossing one of them. The man did not react with anger or offense. Instead, he calmly replied that beauty does not belong only to the rich. His words were simple, but they carried a depth that lingered in her mind. She tried to ignore it and turned away, ready to leave. But just as she was about to walk away, he spoke again. This time, his words stopped her completely. He asked her if she would marry him. For a moment, she thought she had misunderstood. She turned back, confused and slightly irritated, and asked him to repeat what he had said. He looked at her with complete seriousness, and repeated his question. Her reaction was immediate and instinctive. She laughed, loudly and without hesitation. The idea seemed absurd to her. She pointed out the obvious differences between them, emphasizing that he was homeless and that his proposal made no sense. By now, a few people nearby had started to notice the situation. Some watched with curiosity, while others quietly judged the scene unfolding before them. Josh. Despite her reaction, the man remained calm. He told her that he was serious. This only made her more frustrated. She told him that he didn't even know her, that he had no right to say something like that. But then he said something that changed everything. He told her that he could see her. At first, she didn't understand what he meant, but then he explained that he saw someone who appeared to have everything but felt empty inside. His words caught her off guard. No one had ever said something like that to her before, especially not a stranger. She tried to deny it, insisting that he didn't know anything about her. But deep down, she knew there was truth in what he was saying. The man then shared his own story. He told her that he had not always been homeless. There was a time when he had everything she had: money, success, and a comfortable life. But he lost it all, not because he failed, but because he trusted the wrong people. When his money disappeared, so did the people around him. The friends, the relationships, and the love he thought he had all vanished. That was when he realized that most of what he had was never real to begin with. His story resonated with her in a way she did not expect. She had always feared that the people in her life might not be genuine, but hearing it from someone who had actually experienced it made it feel real. He told her that losing everything had taught him the difference between real and fake, between people who stay and people who leave. She stood there in silence, absorbing his words. For the first time, she was not thinking about his appearance or his situation. She was listening to his truth. When she asked him why he had proposed to her, his answer was simple. He said that she had stopped. While everyone else walked past him, she had paused, even if it was just for a moment. To him, that meant something. He told her that he was not interested in her money or her lifestyle. What he wanted was something real, something honest. He said that if she said no, nothing would change. He would continue living his life, and she would return to hers. But if she said yes, there was a chance that both of them could find something they had been missing. She felt conflicted. Everything about the situation went against what she believed was normal. But at the same time, there was something genuine about him that she could not ignore. For the first time in her life, she felt like someone was speaking to her without any hidden intention. After a long pause, she asked him to stand up and repeat his question. He did, looking at her with the same calm expression. When he asked her again if she would marry him, she took a deep breath. In that moment, she made a decision that surprised even herself. She said that they could try. The people around them were shocked. Some thought it was a joke, while others could not understand her decision. But she did not care. For the first time, she felt like she was making a choice for herself, not for society, not for expectations, but for something real. This moment changed both of their lives. It was not about a fairy tale ending or instant happiness. It was about understanding, about breaking the walls that society builds between people, and about realizing that true connection does not depend on wealth or status. In the end, this story reminds us of something simple yet powerful. We often judge people based on what we see, but what we see is rarely the full truth. Sometimes the person who appears to have nothing may carry the deepest understanding of life. And sometimes the person who seems to have everything may be searching for something real. Love is not about money, status, or perfection. It is about honesty, connection, and the courage to look beyond the surface. The next time you see someone, take a moment to think before you judge, because you never know, the person you overlook today might be the one who changes your life tomorrow. Josh.